What's up, motivators? Taryn here. If you've ever looked at pro runners or triathletes or duathletes or trail runners and thought, how is it that they are able to run so fast for so long? Today we are going to get into the 4 main things that they do to structure their training program that allows them to run the way that they do. And these are things that you can apply to your training program to make sure that you can run faster without getting tired. When regular people want to do something personally amazing in an endurance event, they use motive training plans. Whether you're just getting started or you've done several events and want a little more structure to step up your game, we know what it takes to get amateurs to their goals, no matter how big or small. You can accomplish anything you want. You just need a plan designed for the unique needs of people with families, jobs, and a busy life. The motive training method is that plan to get you to the start line feeling confident and across the finish line feeling strong. The first thing that professional endurance athletes do to make sure that they are able to run fast without getting tired is that they've just done it a long time and they've built up that durability over years. Stick with me here because we're going to get into the things that you can really apply to your training program and change right this minute. The thing that you can apply to your training right now is just a kindness to yourself and an understanding that none of those athletes started and were able to run extremely fast right away. Maybe the odd prodigy was able to run really fast right away, but I can think of one professional triathlete in particular, Lucy Charles Barkley, who came from an elite swim level, and it took her years to be able to run consistently without breaking down and getting injured. So somebody like that, who is in her young 20s and came from an elite endurance sports background of swimming, still needed years to be able to build up the run durability, to be able to execute a good training plan to run fast. Then us age groupers can understand that it might take us a long time too. The second thing that professional endurance athletes have going for them, the low end of their speed is very fast. Take 100, 200, 400, 800 meter sprinters out of the equation and just look at 5K all the way up to marathon running, and what you'll see is that almost all of the energy contribution is from the aerobic system, not the anaerobic system. And what this means is that the runners are able to do this not because their fast is extremely fast, but because their slow is actually quite fast, and their aerobic capacity with their hearts and lungs is really very high, so it's just that their steady effort seems quite fast in relation to our quite fast as age groupers. To really briefly show what's going on here, if we're comparing a professional to an age grouper and what's happening in their body, we can just look at what's happening with the buildup of lactic acid in their body. There are 2 thresholds in the body, being VT1, which is the ventilatory threshold 1, that's the aerobic threshold, and this is the point at which you start accumulating lactic acid. This is commonly known as the aerobic threshold. VT2, the ventilatory threshold 2, this is where you start accumulating a huge amount of lactic acid, and you can really only hold anything above this for about 60 minutes. Now, where this starts getting different is, what if the pro is able to stay under 2 millimoles of lactic acid at a 4-minute and 30-second per kilometer pace? And that's about right for a lot of pros, while a lot of age groupers are going to be at a 6-minute per kilometer pace at that same lactic acid level. So what's going to happen is, when we get up into this area here, which is commonly known as the fast running, this is what we would associate with a lot of 5Ks and 10Ks and fast intervals of 4 minutes or 8 minutes. Well, it's just going to be faster because all throughout this, they're also going faster. They're building up a lot less lactic acid. So at these levels, we might be looking at something like a 3-minute kilometer for very fast athletes, where for an age grouper, it might only be at a 4-minute kilometer that they can hold a small amount of speed relative to the professional. What you can do in your training plan to accomplish this and improve your running is by spending a lot of time at a low intensity effort level. This is where we talk about polarized training, where you spend roughly 75 to 80% of your time under that VT1 point, This is building up your body's aerobic engine so that you can go faster even at an easier feeling effort level. The third thing that professional endurance athletes do to be able to run fast for a long period of time is they build up their intervals sequentially. And they don't just do this one time, they do this every single year and every single training cycle. For example, they might start at the beginning of every single season with 5-minute intervals, and then 6 and 7 and 8. In the off season, a lot of professional athletes are doing very short, intense bursts. They're doing 15, 30, 60-second intervals, maybe some 2 to 4-minute intervals if they feel like it, but they don't start building in those intervals and doing long grinding intervals year round. As the season starts and we get into spring, they might start including 4-minute, 5-minute, 8-minute VO2 max building intervals. So they're building the ability for them to transfer those short intervals with short, fast speed into long speed. And then gradually in the last 3 months before a race, they'll start doing more tempo effort training. So this might be running 30 minutes, 40 minutes, even up to 60 minutes at a tempo effort. And then at the end of the season, they'll drop back down, repeating the cycle over and over. What happens with most amateur athletes is they do the standard 3 to 6 minute interval year round, not going at the very ends of building up their speed at very, very short, intense bursts, transferring it over to longer and longer intervals throughout the year. So what you can do in your training plan is have different focuses for your intervals over the course of a year. Over the off season, you can forget about intervals. At the very beginning of coming out of an off season, you can focus on those intense 15 to 60-second bursts with big rest afterwards. Then gradually start extending those intervals into 2 to 8-minute intervals, shortening the rest in between. And as you get closer and closer to a race, start doing longer tempo-focused intervals of 20 minutes, 30 minutes, all the way up to 60 minutes. Professional athletes are able to hold these fast paces for a long period of time, but not year-round. They really refine it, building all the way up to their key race throughout the year. So taking that long build-up is something that you should do too. And the fourth and final thing that allows professional runners to be able to run faster without getting tired is their body is built for it. Now you might say, well, my body just isn't built for that, but that doesn't mean that there aren't things that you can change. With professional runners, they tend to have long gastrocs where they're built like a spring in their lower limbs. In a lot of runners, their lower leg is actually narrow and not very heavy. Many world-class runners have a high lactate tolerance where they're able to run very fast without building up a ton of lactic acid, or they might have a very high VO2 max where they're able to process a lot of oxygen every minute. Now the body structure things you can't change, but the high lactate tolerance and the VO2 max are certainly things that get improved with a good training plan. That's why I think that every athlete should be using a pyramidal model training plan where about 75 to 80% of the time is spent at a very low intensity effort, about 10 to 15% of the time is spent at that moderate intensity, the tempo effort, to get ready and comfortable to race for a long period of time and hold that speed for a long period of time. And then another final 10 to 15% at very high intensity levels, building the ability for the athlete to run fast. Following a well-designed training program that uses these parameters is just naturally going to improve your lactate tolerance and improve your VO2 max, which can be improved by as much as 20% in every single athlete. So why not follow a training plan designed to improve your physiology and be able to run faster without getting tired? Hopefully you found that helpful. If you're starting out and you're finding that some of these points are difficult to actually execute, particularly bringing your heart rate down when running, there's a video that we have on the screen that is one of our most popular videos of all time that helps athletes instantly learn how to run with a lower heart rate to be able to execute that excellent training to make their slow end faster and execute a really well-designed pyramidal-based training plan. Later, motivators.